I was only 5 months into the job when it happened. Still green, still learning how to trust my instincts. They don't train you for this. Not in the academy, not during ride-alongs, not in all the K9 drills with Shadow. That night was my first graveyard shift alone, patrolling a rural stretch outside of Morgan County. Just me and Shadow, my 3-year-old German Shepherd partner. He's a big boy, lean, quick, smarter than most people I know. He'd passed his detection and obedience tests with flying colors. I trusted him more than I trusted most humans. The road we were on cut through miles of farmland, fields of corn on both sides, stretching further than the eye could see. No lights out there, just stars overhead, my headlights slicing the dark, and the occasional rustling of dry stalks in the breeze. Then I saw a black van, parked about 30 yards into the cornfield on the left. Both back doors were wide open. No lights, no engine running, just sitting there like it had dropped from the sky. I slowed to a crawl and turned on my high beams, aiming them at the van, hoping someone would peek out, wave, do something. Nothing. Dispatch, this is Unit 47. I'm off County Road 83 near mile marker 42. Found an abandoned black van in a cornfield. Doors are open. No movement. Requesting backup. Copy 47. Sending units your way. ETA 15 minutes. 15 minutes. That felt like a lifetime. I pulled the cruiser onto the grass shoulder, grabbed my flashlight, unclipped Shadow's leash, and gave the low signal. He perked up immediately, ears sharp, nose twitching. Let's go, buddy. As we crossed into the field, the stalks swallowed us. You wouldn't believe how tall that corn was. 7, maybe 8 feet, like walking through a living maze. My flashlight barely cut through it. The van came into full view. It looked even more out of place up close. Dirty, dented, but not old. The paint was a matte black, almost like someone had tried to keep it from reflecting light. We circled it once. Nothing. No footprints, no tire tracks, nothing obvious. But when we got to the rear, Shadow snapped. He yanked so hard on the leash that I lost my footing and fell forward, barking like mad, snarling at the open trunk. He was lunging, teeth bared, foam at the corners of his mouth. He's trained to protect, not panic. But this was raw, unfiltered fear. I got back on my feet and finally shined the light inside. That's when the smell hit. Rot. Thick and putrid. The kind that curls your stomach and stays with you for days. Inside the trunk, 6 long black body bags, all zipped up, except they weren't. Each one was slightly open at the end, enough for feet to stick out. Pale, dirty feet. I stepped back. My hand trembled as I grabbed the radio. Dispatch. Code 3. I repeat. Code 3. I've got multiple bodies. Send everyone. 47. Copy. Units are en route. Hold position. Hold position. I was about to step back toward the cruiser, heart pounding in my ears, when I heard it. Snap. A twig. Somewhere behind us, deeper in the corn. Shadow growled, then bolted. The leash tore from my hand as he charged headlong into the stalks. Shadow! Shadow! Heel! But he was gone. I ran after him without thinking. The stalks tore at my face, scraped my arms, but I didn't care. All I could hear was Shadow's barking, fierce and relentless, until it stopped. Dead silence. Then rustling. Not one direction, all directions. The kind of sound that tells you you're not alone, that something's out there, watching, surrounding. I froze, my breath sharp in my throat. My flashlight beam trembled across the corn. Then, hands. 2 of them. Clamped around my neck from behind. I couldn't scream. I couldn't breathe. My feet kicked uselessly. The flashlight hit the ground and spun, casting erratic shadows across the stalks. This was it. I was going to die. Then I heard it. Bark. Shadow's bark, fierce and close, and a scream. The The grip on my neck loosened just long enough for me to spin, suck in air, and draw my weapon. I fired once. A direct hit. The man howled and collapsed. Shadow had him by the leg, gnashing, relentless. I didn't wait. I grabbed Shadow's harness, yanked him back, and we ran. We didn't know where we were going. Just away. Through the corn. Through the dark. I swear I felt them chasing us. Shadows shifting just beyond the beam of my light. When we broke through the stalks and hit the grass, I didn't stop. I flung the cruiser door open, shouted, "In!" and Shadow leapt inside. The engine roared to life, tires screeched, and I hit the gas like a man possessed. I didn't look back. Not once. When backup arrived, 5 cruisers, 2 ambulances, a crime scene van, it was too late. The van? Gone. The bodies? Gone. No footprints, no blood, no sign that anything had been there at all. And the worst part? My dashcam wasn't recording. I hadn't even gotten the plate. I sat on the hood of the cruiser as the sun began to rise, feeling like the biggest failure in the world. I'd sworn an oath to protect and serve, and all I could think about was how I ran. But I'm still alive. Only because of Shadow. He saved my life that night, pulled me back from the brink. They said it was likely a trafficking drop site, that the van must have had a lookout nearby, maybe multiple. They cleaned up fast, disappearing into the stalks before anyone could catch them. But that doesn't explain everything. It doesn't explain how they moved that fast, or why the fields were dead silent when the team combed them, like the land itself didn't want to remember what had happened. They let me take a few days off. I didn't sleep. I just sat in my apartment, Shadow curled at my feet, wondering how close I came to being another bag in the back of that van. People still ask me why I transferred to administrative duty 6 months later. I usually say it was for my mental health. But the truth? Sometimes when I'm walking Shadow near the tree line, he stops. His ears go up. His body stiffens. He growls, deep and low, and stares into the brush like something's there. And every single time, I believe him. Because out there, in the dark, I left something behind. Something that's still watching. Still waiting. I ran, but Shadow didn't. That's the only reason I'm alive to tell you this. 2 years ago, I picked up a night shift at the 7-Eleven, just outside of town. I wasn't even supposed to work that night. My coworker had called out last minute, and I said yes, because I needed the overtime. I remember checking in around 10:45 p.m., tossing my hoodie behind the counter, and getting mentally ready for a long, quiet night. It was one of those rural stores, no foot traffic after midnight, except for the occasional trucker or drunk college kid trying to sober up on taquitos. Everything was normal until around 1:15 a.m. That's when he walked in. I still don't know how to explain the sound. It was like yelling, but not words. Just loud, drawn-out vocalizations. Imagine someone shouting underwater, garbled, harsh, unpredictable. The automatic doors slid open, and there he was. Mid-30s, maybe. Unshaven, hair wild and greasy, clothes 2 sizes too big. But it wasn't just the look of him. It was the way he moved, stiff, disjointed, like he was trying to imitate how people walk, but didn't quite get it right. He didn't make eye contact, didn't grab a basket, didn't even glance at the shelves. He walked straight up to the counter and stood about 2 feet away from me, just staring at the ceiling. Not blinking, not fidgeting, not even breathing, as far as I could tell. He stood there making those awful noises every so often, long, painful-sounding groans that echoed in the fluorescent silence. At first, I felt bad. I figured maybe he had some kind of mental illness. Maybe he was lost. So I tried to talk to him. "Hey man, you okay?" No response. Need me to call someone? Nothing. Just that low, awful groaning again. The longer he stood there, the more wrong it felt. I mean, I've helped people with disabilities before. I know what distress looks like. But this wasn't distress. It felt intentional. After 5 solid minutes of that heavy silence, I grabbed a bag of chips off the rack, placed it on the counter and said, "Here, on the house. You should probably get going, all right?" He looked at the chips, then at me, then back to the ceiling, and walked out without a word. I locked the doors behind him. Even though we're supposed to stay open 24/7, I wasn't taking chances. I didn't see any cars outside, just a long, empty road disappearing into darkness. I tried to shake it off, made myself a cup of coffee, and sat behind the register. At 2:18 a.m., the store phone rang. I answered automatically. 7-Eleven, how can I? And then I heard it, the same noise, that distorted, guttural groaning coming through the phone. I slammed it down, heart racing, and unplugged the line from the wall. The rest of the shift was a blur. I kept watching the security monitors, half expecting to see his face pressed against the glass, but nothing else happened. I clocked out at 4 a.m. Sharp, drove home faster than I should have, and locked every door and window behind me. I was just starting to calm down when my home phone rang. Same static-filled breathing, same horrible sound. It was him. I didn't answer it again. I unplugged that phone too. The rest of the night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every creak of the house, every distant car door, made me jump. And the worst part, I started to feel like I wasn't alone. You know that feeling when you just know someone's watching you, but you can't prove it? Yeah, that. I didn't sleep until the sun came up. For a while, I tried to convince myself I was overreacting. Maybe it was a prank, or a coincidence, or stress. Weeks went by. Nothing happened. I settled back into routine. Then one Saturday afternoon, I went into the basement to grab some old holiday decorations, and everything unraveled. The first thing I noticed was the scattered papers. Some of mine, some I didn't recognize, strewn across the concrete floor like someone had rifled through everything. Then I saw the closet. The door was cracked open. Inside were scribbled words on the wall, gibberish mostly, but a few things stood out. My name, my address, the 7-Eleven's address, scrawled over and over again. And in the far corner, hidden behind an old water heater, 3 knives, rusted, wrapped in duct tape. I backed out of the closet, barely able to breathe. My legs felt like rubber. Someone had been living down there. For how long? I didn't know. I never heard footsteps, never saw signs of forced entry. The police came, took a report. They searched the neighborhood but didn't find anything. Said it was probably a transient, that it happens sometimes in rural towns. But I know it was him, the man from that night. The noises, the phone calls, the way he watched me. The basement confirmed what I didn't want to believe. He'd been there before I met him. He knew where I lived, and he didn't want snacks. He wanted something else. I've moved since then. Different town, different job. Never took another night shift. I can't even walk into a 7-Eleven without feeling that crawling dread in the back of my neck. People ask me why I'm so paranoid. Why do I check the locks 3 times? Why don't I answer unknown calls? I usually just say I had a bad experience once. But the truth? Sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear it again. A groan, low and drawn out, coming from somewhere inside the walls. And when I close my eyes, I see him standing in the basement, looking up at the ceiling, at me. I was 20 years old, working the graveyard shift at a 24-hour Walbaum's just off the interstate. You know the kind. Fluorescent lights humming, aisles a little too long, silence so thick it presses on your chest after 2 a.m. It was quiet that night. Dead quiet. The store only had 2 of us on shift, me on the floor, restocking shelves, and the manager up in the tiny office above the break room. But she left around midnight, which meant I had the place to myself from 12 to 6 a.m. I'd done it before. It wasn't fun, but I didn't mind the quiet. I'd put in earbuds, listen to music, and just zone out in the cereal aisle or walk in slow loops through frozen foods. But this night has never left me. It started around 1:30 a.m. I was in aisle 7 restocking boxed pasta when I heard the doors open. I peeked around the corner, expecting a trucker or maybe some tired college kid. Instead, I saw a man, maybe mid-40s, dressed in a wrinkled windbreaker, jeans that sagged at the knees, and shoes too big for his feet. But it was his face that made my stomach twist. Something was off. It wasn't one thing. His features didn't quite line up. Eyes too close, nose too flat, skin that looked stretched just a little too tight, like wax left too long in the sun. He had this way of moving too, slow and jerky, like a puppet handled by a drunk puppeteer. He spotted me and gave a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You got eggs?" he asked. His voice was a little too loud, a little too cheerful, like someone playing a part. "Yeah," I said, pointing toward the coolers. "Back wall, left side." He stared at me a beat too long before turning and walking off, but not before saying, "Thanks, sweet girl." I froze. Something about the way he said it, "sweet girl," like it tasted wrong in his mouth. I tried to shake it off. Just a weird customer. You get all types late at night. I kept restocking elbow macaroni, telling myself he'd grab his eggs and go. But 10 minutes later, I turned into aisle 9 and nearly ran straight into him. He wasn't looking at the shelves, just standing there and waiting. "Sorry," I said, startled. He smiled again. "You're always this jumpy?" I forced a laugh. Only when people pop out from behind canned goods. He didn't laugh. "Do you work here a lot?" he asked. Yeah, part-time." He nodded slowly, eyes not leaving mine. "What are you? 19? 20? 20, I answered, uneasy. "College girl?" "Not right now. Took a break." "That so?" he said, stepping closer. "Pretty girl like you. Gotta be someone waiting at home." I didn't answer. He put a hand on my shoulder. It was clammy, heavy. "You're lucky," he said, leaning in. "If I were younger, I'd be dangerous." I stepped back. "I've got work to do." I didn't wait for a response. I bolted to the back, into the stockroom, and slammed the door behind me. I stood there for a full 5 minutes, my heart pounding in my throat. I thought about calling the manager, but she lived 40 minutes away. Eventually, I peeked out. The aisles were empty. I walked to the register and stood behind it for 20 minutes, eyes locked on the automatic doors. No sign of him. No checkout beep. No goodbye. He must have left, I thought. Relieved, I walked to the employee bathroom in the back. It was a single stall, tiny, claustrophobic, with a flickering light that buzzed overhead. I locked the door, sat down, and finally let my body unclench. And then I heard it. The bathroom door creaked open. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. I went still. I lifted my feet off the ground, standing on the toilet seat, heart racing. For a long moment, there was nothing. Then, through the crack in the stall door, an eye, bloodshot, wide, unblinking, staring right at me. I screamed, loud, reflexively. The eye disappeared. I heard shuffling, then the door slammed against the wall. I yanked the stall open, my box cutter in hand, and slashed in the direction of the door. Empty. I didn't waste another second. I ran a full sprint through the aisles, out the front doors, and didn't stop until I hit the edge of the parking lot. I dialed my manager 4 times before she picked up, groggy and irritated. When I told her what happened, her voice changed. "Call the police," she said, "right now." I did. They arrived in 15 minutes. Of course, by then he was gone. No eggs on the counter, no fingerprints, nothing on camera. Our security system had been broken for weeks, waiting on a part. The police checked the bathrooms, the break room, even the dumpsters. No trace. They said it was probably a transient, someone passing through. They took my statement, gave me a ride home, and said to call if anything else happened. Nothing ever did. I worked 2 more night shifts after that. I couldn't even finish the second one. Every creak, every flicker of light made my skin crawl. So I switched to day shifts. Then I quit altogether. But sometimes, even now, I'll be in a grocery store and see a man in the corner of my eye. Too still, too quiet. And for a second, I swear it's him. It wasn't the words that scared me. It wasn't the eye. It was the knowing that someone could look so normal and mean you harm. And that night, I saw it up close. I felt it on my skin, and I never forgot.